Widowed mom ate alone at a diner until a group of college kids asked, "Can we sit here?" The rain made a soft hiss against Lou's roadside diner, and Claire Bennett watched the window fog while her coffee cooled. It was a Tuesday, late, the kind of night that asked nothing and answered less. She liked this booth because it held her without questions. 2 years earlier, a delivery truck hit black ice, and her husband Caleb never came home from the library. She still wore his ring, not as a promise, but as a small handle she grabbed when the world felt slick. The bell over the door jingled, and a gust of damp air rode in with 4 college kids. Umbrellas dripped, sneakers squeaked, laughter scattered like coins. The tall boy in a cap scanned the room for space that didn't exist. The smallest girl, bright backpack and braver smile, looked at Claire's half-empty booth and stepped closer. "Would it be okay if we sit here?" she asked, gentle and hopeful at once. "We won't be loud." Claire glanced at the empty seat across from her, the one she always guarded with a purse or a newspaper, and surprised herself by sliding the purse to the floor. "Sure," she said. "I could use the company." They folded into the booth, elbows tucked, eyes shining from the rain. "I'm Maya," the girl said. "This is Josh, Tessa, and Evan. Midterms broke our brains." She grinned like the break was mostly funny. "Claire," she said, "congratulations on surviving." Lou topped off mugs, set down a plate of fries, by accident, and drifted away with the satisfied air of a man who liked the shape of a table. The diner's low radio hummed a familiar old song. Grease and sugar perfumed the air. Outside, the parking lot looked watercolor under the streetlights. They ordered grilled cheese and pie, and a conversation built itself without strain. Josh made a joke about writing a paragraph on photosynthesis in a sociology essay. Tessa noticed Claire's ring and called it pretty. Evan spun a lanyard key, then, unable to help himself, mentioned a project they were starting. "Evan," Tessa warned, amused, "we promised food first, pitch later." "What kind of project?" Claire asked. The last project in her life had been grief, and no one had pitched it. It simply arrived and unpacked everywhere. Maya sat a little straighter. "We're launching a campus and town bridge," she said. "Students who need service hours matched with adults who are rebuilding after loss. Layoffs, caregiving, anything that knocks a life sideways. We don't fix things, we sit. We make forms and plans less scary. We stay." Claire let the words rest between them. "Sounds radical," she said softly. "Sitting without fixing?" "My grandma calls it loving on purpose," Maya said. "Like you choose to be there." "Our professor called it ambitious but naive," Josh added, "which I think is code for please don't involve me when it works." "We're applying for microgrants anyway," Tessa said, "and asking local places to host open tables." Claire watched the steam lift from her mug and thought about tables. The one where Caleb spread crossword puzzles. The one she ate at now, mostly standing, as if sitting might invite memory. "What would hosting mean?" she asked before she could talk herself out of it. "Time in a corner," Maya said. "We bring tea and cookies and a sign that says, 'Stay with us while life rearranges.' Josh can help with taxes, Evan with cranky laptops, Tessa with any naughty conversation. I make banana bread that is okay if you are generous." Lou appeared with pie and gave her a look that said he approved. Rain softened to mist. Trucks hissed by on wet asphalt. The diner breathed. "I lost my husband," Claire said, the sentence landing carefully in the space they had made. 2 years. I tell everyone I'm fine. Most days I almost believe it." No one flinched. Tessa folded a napkin and slid it to the edge of the plate. a quiet offering. Evan nodded, eyes on the table, the kind of attention that doesn't stare but doesn't look away. Josh aligned salt and pepper with the ketchup, as if neatness could be a prayer. Maya said, "Thank you for trusting us." They ate, laughed at nothing large, and the hour eased. Claire noticed she hadn't checked the time. Grief usually measured nights in minutes. This one drifted. When the plates were crumbs, Maya pulled a damp flyer from her backpack. Bold letters read, "The Sitting Project." Below, a time, a phone number, a promise. Claire ran a finger over the paper and felt something unclench, the way a fist forgets it is a fist. "Can we sit here?" Maya had asked. It turned out to be the biggest question people ask each other without knowing it. Can we share the table where your life hurts and the one where it heals? Closing time approached in the diner's ritual. Lights dimmed a shade, a broom whispered, the coffee machine sighed. The students gathered notebooks and coins for a jukebox that hadn't worked in years. Claire shrugged into her coat and looked at the window, where her reflection seemed less alone than when she arrived. "Walk me to my car?" she asked. "Of course," Maya said, as if it had been decided an hour ago. Outside, puddles held halos of light. A train sent a low horn across the dark. Claire clicked her key fob and turned back to the four faces that had crowded a lonely booth with warmth. "If your project ever needs a kitchen," she said, "I make decent spaghetti." "Sold," Josh said. "I'll bring garlic bread I will definitely buy instead of burn." "And I'll bring forms that look scary until they aren't," Maya said. Claire smiled, small and steady. She did not know what tomorrow would want from her. She did know she would go home with a flyer in her pocket and a plan to find her big pot. She waved, shut the door, and let the engine idle while the wipers cleared the glass. Rain slowed to a hush. She breathed once, steady, and turned toward home. The night answered softly, yes. Claire woke the next morning to sunlight pushing through the blinds, like a gentle insistence. She hadn't dreamed of Caleb, which was unusual. And when she poured her first cup of coffee, the flyer from Maya slipped out of her coat pocket and fluttered to the floor. She picked it up, read the bold letters again, and felt the same curious loosening in her chest. Saturday, the meeting said, a church basement on the edge of campus. Bring yourself, bring whatever you carry. The week stumbled by in its usual rhythm. Work at the library, dinners made half-heartedly, evenings stretched by silence, but now a thread tugged her forward. On Friday, she bought a box of spaghetti and tomatoes, without quite knowing why, and polished Caleb's old thermos until it gleamed. Saturday came rainy again. Claire parked near the church, nervous in a way that felt almost juvenile, like walking into a classroom late. She descended the basement stairs, holding the flyer as if it were a passport. Inside, folding tables held mismatched chairs. A crock-pot bubbled. A poster board announced, "We sit here. You're welcome." Maya was there first, arranging cups, her backpack still damp. "You came," she said, voice bright and warm. "This is Claire, everyone." Faces turned toward her, and she was folded into a circle without ceremony. There was Josh balancing a stack of papers, Tessa taking attendance with a grin, Evan stringing fairy lights from the ceiling pipes. Others too, a nurse with tired eyes, a man who'd lost his job at the mill, a college sophomore who said her roommate had vanished into depression. They were strangers, yet the air felt like a quilt stitched from different pieces. They began with stories, small ones first. The nurse confessed she carried grief like an extra shift. The mill worker admitted he didn't know how to fill his mornings. Claire's turn came, and she told them about Caleb, about the silence at her kitchen table, about how her wedding ring sometimes felt like armor, sometimes like weight. No one rushed to console her. No one interrupted. They simply sat, and the sitting itself felt like balm. Later, when chairs scraped back and spaghetti was shared, Claire found herself laughing at Josh's self-deprecating humor, at Tessa's mock outrage when her pie was declared too perfect to be homemade. Even Evan, quiet as ever, leaned across the table to show her how to fix her old phone that kept freezing. It might have ended there. A good night filed under unexpected comforts. But as people left, Maya asked, "Would you host next week? A simple dinner? People listen better when pasta's involved." Claire hesitated, the old reflex to decline rising in her throat. But then she remembered how the booth at the diner had felt once crowded with life, and she surprised herself again. "Yes," she said. She spent the week preparing. She dusted corners Caleb used to tease her for ignoring. She bought candles. She even unearthed the old record player, scratching out songs that once made them dance in the kitchen. When Saturday arrived, her house filled with voices she had only known in fragments, but now welcomed like threads weaving into her own. Maya brought banana bread again, slightly better this time. Tessa organized a silly icebreaker, where everyone had to say what food matched their mood. Evan quietly set up a projector to show slides of his photography. Ordinary things turned luminous, like rain puddles catching neon or rusted mailboxes against morning skies. Claire's spaghetti simmered rich and forgiving, and when bowls were scraped clean, she realized she had been hungry for something deeper than food. After everyone left, she stood in her kitchen, surrounded by dishes and laughter's echo. She hadn't felt this alive since before Caleb's accident. Grief was still present, but it had loosened its grip. She thought about what Maya called it, loving on purpose, and wondered if maybe she was ready to choose that. Then came a phone call late one night. Tessa's number lit her screen, voice trembling. Maya didn't show up to class. She left her backpack at the library. No one's seen her. Claire's pulse quickened. "Have you called the police?" "They said wait 24 hours, but something feels wrong." Claire thought of the flyer, of the bold promise to sit with others. She thought of Maya's steady smile at the diner, the glue she had been for all of them. "We're not waiting," Claire said firmly. "Meet me at Lou's in 10 minutes. We'll figure this out." The diner lights glowed against the dark. Josh and Evan arrived looking pale. Tessa tapped her phone nervously. Claire slid into their booth, the same one where it had all started, and said, "Maya gave us something. Now it's our turn. We find her, whatever it takes." And for the first time in years, Claire felt not only the weight of grief, but the strength of resolve. The diner booth became their command center. Claire spread napkins across the table, scribbling notes with a pen borrowed from Lou, who hovered nearby with concern in his eyes. "Maya always sits by the window when she comes here," he said. "Last night she was quiet, paid her bill, tipped well, left fast." Tessa scrolled her phone. Her last text to me was weird. Just said, "Sometimes people don't want you to sit with them." Her voice cracked. She always believed in sitting. "Where does she go when she needs air?" Claire asked. "There's a bridge near campus," Evan said quietly. "She photographs the river there, says the water listens better than people." They drove through wet streets, headlights slicing puddles. Claire gripped the steering wheel tighter than she had in years. Josh rode shotgun, reading messages aloud, hoping for a clue. When they reached the bridge, mist curled above the water, swallowing sound. Maya stood at the railing, backpack slumped at her feet. Her hair clung damp to her face. She didn't turn as they approached. Claire's chest tightened. "You'll catch cold," Claire said softly. Maya glanced back, eyes shining. "You shouldn't have come." "We sit," Claire said simply. That's what you taught us. Maya laughed without humor. What if I'm tired of teaching? What if I'm tired of being the strong one? Then you let us carry you, Josh said, his voice unsteady but brave, like you carried us. Silence pressed around them, heavy as fog. A truck rumbled by on the far side of the river, lights streaking across water. Maya's shoulders trembled. Claire remembered her own nights, staring at walls, waiting for someone to see her loneliness. She stepped closer, rain slick on her coat. I lost Caleb, she said. I thought I was the only one drowning. Then you asked if you could sit, and I let you. You can let us now. Maya's hand clutched the railing, white-knuckled. Tessa reached out carefully, not forcing, just offering. Evan set Maya's backpack gently on the ground, as if grounding her mattered. Please, Claire whispered. Don't choose silence. Choose us. For a moment, nothing moved except the river. Then Maya's shoulders sagged. She turned fully, tears mixing with rain. I don't know how to stop feeling broken, she admitted. You don't, Claire said. You learn to be broken together. They walked her back to the car, the four of them bracing her as if she might vanish into mist. Lou had left thermoses of hot cocoa waiting on the counter when they returned to the diner, and Maya held hers like it was the only warm thing in the world. In the weeks that followed, the sitting project deepened. Meetings doubled in size. The circle expanded. Teachers, retirees, even Lou himself with his endless supply of pie. Claire's house became a second headquarters, spaghetti pots boiling over with both sauce and conversation. But success brought shadows. Whispers started on campus. Was this just pity disguised as kindness? A blog post accused them of exploiting tragedy for feel-good points. The article spread fast, and soon donations slowed. Students who had once sat eagerly now avoided eye contact. Maya took it hardest. Maybe they're right, she muttered one night. Maybe we're just patching holes that will never close. They're wrong, Claire said firmly. I know the difference. I lived it. You didn't patch me. You reminded me I could still stand. The group pressed on. They organized food drives, tutoring sessions, grief circles. Claire learned to lead with steadiness, not just survival. Yet tension lingered like static in the air. Then came the storm. A late March gale ripped through town, flooding basements, toppling trees. Power snapped out in half the city. Claire's neighborhood went dark, wind howling like an old wound. She gathered candles, checked her phone. Messages flooded in. The church basement had collapsed under strain. People were trapped. She didn't hesitate. She pulled on boots, grabbed her flashlight, and raced into the night. At the church, sirens wailed. Water poured across the steps. Firefighters fought debris. Claire pushed forward, shouting Maya's name. A hand caught her arm. Josh, soaked and wild-eyed. Maya's inside, he gasped. She went back for the others. Claire's stomach propped. Rain lashed her face, but her voice cut through. Then we go back for her. Tessa and Evan appeared at her side, pale but determined. They had been strangers once. Now they were something else entirely. Together, they plunged toward the darkened doorway. The church basement smelled of wet wood and fear. Claire's flashlight beam shook as she forced her way inside, water lapping at her ankles. Broken beams angled like ribs, the storm outside pounding against the walls. Maya, she shouted, her voice echoing in the chaos. A faint reply floated through the dark. Here! They followed the sound. Josh cleared debris with frantic strength. Evan used his phone light to guide them. Tessa whispered steady words even as her teeth chattered. In the corner, half buried by collapsed plaster, Maya crouched with two elderly women, shielding them from falling debris. Her face was streaked with soot and rain, but her eyes widened when she saw them. I told you not to come, she said weakly. "And I told you," Claire answered, hauling a beam aside, "we sit." The four of them lifted, pushed, pulled. Pain seared through Claire's shoulders, but adrenaline drowned it. Slowly, the women were freed. Guided toward rescuers waiting outside, Maya stumbled, nearly collapsing, but Claire grabbed her hand and squeezed. "Not without you," she whispered. They stumbled into the night as the roof groaned behind them. Firefighters took the women. Paramedics reached for Maya, but she shook her head. "Later," she said, clutching Claire's coat. "I need to stay with them." Hours blurred. The storm subsided. Dawn painted the sky gray-pink. The church stood broken, but its people lived. And in the parking lot, huddled beneath borrowed blankets, Claire realized something had shifted inside her. She wasn't only surviving anymore, she was leading. News spread of their rescue. The blog that once mocked them now wrote a new headline: "Ordinary people save dozens in church collapse." Donations surged again. Volunteers doubled. The Sitting Project was no longer a whisper, but a chorus. Weeks later, Claire sat at Lou's diner, the booth crowded once again. Maya leaned on her shoulder, still healing but steady. Tessa scolded Josh for spilling fries. Evan quietly snapped photos of sunlight through the window. "We never finished the spaghetti night," Claire said. Maya smiled faintly. "Then let's start again." So they did. The project expanded into libraries, schools, shelters. Wherever silence had settled too heavy, they carried chairs and signs that read, "We sit here." Claire found herself teaching younger volunteers how to listen without fixing, how to stay when staying felt impossible. Grief still lived with her, a quiet roommate, but it no longer ran the house. Caleb's memory wasn't a weight now. It was a lantern she carried. Sometimes she dreamed of him laughing at her spaghetti, saying, "Finally, you're feeding an army." She would wake with tears and a smile. One evening in late summer, the group gathered in Claire's backyard. Fairy lights twinkled. Tables sagged with food. Lou brought pie. The mill worker grilled hot dogs. Kids darted between chairs. Claire stood, nervous but certain, and lifted her glass. "2 years ago," she began, "I thought my story ended with loss. But one night, 4 strangers asked to sit at my booth, and that simple question gave me everything back. Family, purpose, hope. So here's to the question that changed us. Can we sit here?" Glasses clinked. Laughter rose. The night pulsed with life. Later, as the crowd thinned, Maya joined Claire by the garden. "You saved me on that bridge," she said. "No," Claire replied gently. "We saved each other. That's the point." The air smelled of cut grass and pie crust. Somewhere a dog barked, and Claire knew, with a certainty as steady as the earth, that she was no longer defined by what she had lost, but by what she chose every day: to sit, to stay, to love on purpose. As the last guests drifted away, Claire walked back inside, the flyer pinned on her fridge, edges curling, but words still bold. She traced them with her finger and whispered, "Yes," because the story wasn't about a widow eating alone anymore. It was about a table that grew wide enough for everyone. And so it began with one lonely booth, a question as simple as, "Can we sit here?" And it ended with a family born not of blood, but of choice. Because sometimes the smallest invitation doesn't just change a night, it changes a life forever.